Righty ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. Thanks for joining me for Trading Buddies on this 15th of July, Monday, the 15th of July. Interesting week ahead, I believe. What an interesting weekend we had with the goings on in Philadelphia. Wow. What is that going to do to the markets? I mean, I'm not going to go into commenting about Donald and playing golf after being shot. We're keen as golfers, I've got to say that. Um, yeah, don't know what to say, to be honest. America, maybe. That's all I need to say, I think. I I'm in two minds as to what this may do to the markets. Probably more so um, initially I would have thought the stock market would have had a bit of a correction, if you like, on the back of this, but that remains to be seen. And so far today, I would have expected the market to go a little bit risk off with the US dollar perhaps strengthening a bit, and maybe the Swissy coming into play a little bit more, maybe the yen following through on last week's prices. So haven't seen the evidence of that to a degree at this point. So far, business as usual. We'll see what London session has to offer. Rightio, I'm interested to hear what you guys are thinking about that as well. And I'll be more than interested to hear what Ash has got to say when he comes in also. All right, let's go to gold. You would have thought this would be one of the ones that might move on the back of the attempted assassination. That's quite likely to be the case as London opens. I've got the blue circle of death here. I don't know what's going on. Looks like I may have been disconnected. I will pause for a second. Don't know if you can hear me, guys. Ah, okay. Screen sharing is loading. It looks like I'm in an Elon Musk flyover or something. I've got absolutely no control over anything at the moment. My apologies for that. If you can hear me, I'm stuck. This is frustrating. I don't know whether to reboot or which means you guys are going to get crashed out of here. And that's not going to be ideal. Hopefully Ash will come in and a tick. And I'll just close something down. I can't see the chat box. I can't see anything. I haven't got control of my computer. It looks like I am on air, however, because I can see myself on YouTube. That's really interesting. Guys, I'm just going to have to chat here a little bit for a minute until my screen unfreezes, because what I've got on my main computer is zero. Although I know I am going out to the world, which is really interesting but very frustrating. So if you're putting anything in chat or I can't read it. It's just gone. I don't have a cursor. I don't have anything. Hopefully Ash will be in shortly and he'll take over and I can reboot at some stage and get back into action. I might as well just talk about again reiterating what I think may be the case. What I anticipated might be the case in in America, or the result of what's happened in America. I really did think we'd go into a bit of a risk off scenario to start the week, and that may yet be the case. Not a lot of evidence, as I said, to this point. But if we do, and I can say this for sure because I've already done it, I have tightened my stop loss on Australian dollar versus the US dollar, the trade in which I am long. I wish I could show it to you, but I can't. My screen is frozen. I've moved my stop loss way up underneath Thursday's candle, which would put me in a position of losing a few schooners of beer, I think, if price were to come back and take me out. I think that's the line in the sand for me. If price comes back below and I can't remember what the level is, to be honest. If but the price comes back below Thursday's bar, I think the market may well have gone risk off at that point, in which case the Aussie versus the dollar will suffer. And speculation, of course, on my behalf, whether that's going to be the case or not. But that's where I sit, and I'd much rather protect my capital in that circumstance. Ash, you don't know if you've joined in yet, mate, but I have got a frozen computer. I have to reboot. I know I'm going out, but I've got no idea why I'm going out, because my computer is frozen. I'm just going to have to shut it down and reboot. So if you are in the room, because I can't see anything, you could take control, and I will reboot my machinery and see if I can get back in the game. No, maybe Ashley's not in the room yet. Okay. What else do I expect might happen? Look, I'm kind of getting keen on the Swissy if that circumstance takes place. Although I should probably discuss the Aussie versus the dollar if what I'm saying does not come to pass, or what I'm anticipating might happen does come to pass. And that would be the Aussie will continue to rally. But I'm not as keen on the Aussie now as I was last week, because when dollar news came out last week, twice actually, they were negative for the US dollar, and everything just about rallied hard against the dollar except for the Aussie. And that kind of put me on notice that something's amiss. And my screens have just gone black now. Let me see if that's going to correct something. They may come back. As I say, I sniffed relative weakness in the Aussie because it didn't rally as hard as the others did against the dollar once that US dollar news came out last week, in duplicate, actually. So that's where I started to think, something's not right here. And for that reason, now that I've got this potential risk off scenario with the Trump thing, I think it's wise to tighten up my stop loss just in case it does reverse, and reverse hard. Fair bit of news coming out this week, of course, and that is normal. Oh, it looks like I'm back in. Wonderful. Okay, let's see if I can catch up. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing at the moment. I will re-share. Oh, now I've got the blue circle of death again. My God. What a frustrating start to the week. Apologies for this, guys, but there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Something's gone wrong with Elon Musk's Starlink to and well, I think that's the problem. Maybe I've got too much open on my computer. I don't know, but it seriously needs a reboot. That seems to be certain, but I still can't do anything as far as the control panel is concerned. But perhaps you can see my screen. And if that's the case, I will go through. Oh, now I've got the blue circle of death on my chart as well. Wow. Again, Ash, if you're about, if you could take control, mate, I can't see you. I can't see the control panel. I have no idea who's in the room. Here, blue circle's gone again. Let me see if I can trade. No, I'm just going to trade the breakout, by the way. And of course, we are now 4 minutes into London session. Why am I not trading the breakout? Well, because price closed pretty much on the low of range, and I don't like that to be the case. So no trade on gold. Let me go to that Aussie chart that I was talking about and show you what I've done. So I entered the market here as a breakout, or continuation of the breakout, if you like, what I call the dominator, entered here. And my first take profit was quite ambitious, I must say, but there it is. It still remains there. I haven't changed it, but I have moved my stop loss, which was down here underneath the monthly pivot. I believe, yes, underneath the candle, down here somewhere. I've moved it right up to underneath Thursday's bar. And as I said, if this market does go risk off, then Aussie dollar will be certainly one that suffers on the back of that. Risk off. Why? Because of the Trump thing. In my opinion, that is a likely outcome. If that doesn't happen, of course, and Friday's bar holds and Thursday's bar holds, then we can chase that first take profit. As far as the week ahead is concerned, I do have a few game changer bars, of which none tweak my interest. A lot of them are against the yen, and I think you'll probably, if you've been here or hanging around for a while and listening to me for a while, you'll know that I'm not interested in trading the yen pairs until I get confirmation or a potential reversal. Have we got a potential reversal on our hands? Hell yes, we have. Given what I believe, and I have no confirmation of this, I haven't been reading the news, but I believe that was probably the Bank of Japan intervention there on Thursday, and prices kind of hung around there, hung around the low of that bar ever since. Interestingly, what happens next is the big question. Is the intervention this time going to stick, or are we going to see
Oh, just okay, no worries, guys. I am in. I am in. Jeff will no doubt be back. You guys hear me all right? Yeah, cool. Okay. All right. Well, let's put my chart up instead then. Let's do this. And I'll show you a few things that I'm interested in. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah, so just kind of looking through sort of just some intraday opportunities. I like now the FTSE's already gone. Hold on, let's bring this up so you can see it a bit cleaner. Those numbers won't make any difference. This one's already gone. There was one opportunity here, but it was so early doors that it's probably sort of along this level here that we could have taken, but that was an hour ago. But I think this is quite telling, you know, the fact that the FTSE's kind of coming down. Brent, I think, is an interesting one because of the relationship with the FTSE. I wonder whether this might well be a trade. Nothing is really that clean at this stage. We just had some PPI numbers from Switzerland, which were a little bit weaker than expected. But we did have last week, we had CPI data from the United States, which definitely was weaker than expected. And that CPI data may well drive the dollar lower. And I am quite interested in the dollar Swiss. Let me just see if I can find it. Dollar Swiss. Now this is going to be all about which. There we go. Yeah, this dollar Swiss I'm quite interested in. These bars here are tricky ones, and it's navigating where do you put the trend line on this sort of thing, and where's the lower high. There is a very weak looking horizontal level there. Morning, Lewis. There's a very weak looking horizontal level there, in as much that it's very short term, and but it's on the hourly. So I'm sort of looking in this area here. You can see that there's some touches over here. Actually, it's stronger than I thought. Let's just put this on a 4 hour and see what it looks like. Oh, that looks pretty good. Hold on.
Hello,
this
mate.
is it on the. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Somewhat frustrated. I just spent the
Oh
last
yeah.
10 minutes trying to make sense of what was going on.
Oh yeah. It's Monday morning. You're Jeff.
Thanks. I'm going to blame Elon Musk, and if that doesn't work, I'll blame Trump getting shot.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what, the man is Teflon, quite literally Teflon, isn't it? Not even a shooter
Well,
can bring him down.
proved it again, didn't he? And
Yeah, do you know,
off to golf straight afterwards. No, no drama.
you can't knock him really. I mean, aside from sort of whether anybody believes in his political views, you can't knock his gumption. He's just, doesn't stop really, does he? Sort of when he's got his mind set on something, he's going after it. And this is probably going to play into his hands actually. The fact that and he will use it. I'm sure he'll when things are sort of settled down for him, he'll use it.
Yeah, look, I have no idea what has actually transpired since, apart from he played golf and he's now at his anointment, if you like, as the candidate.
Yeah.
But man, the stories that are going around and the conspiracy theories that it was all a ploy, and oh man, really, I don't know what to make of it in terms of what the market's going to do. Is the market going to actually react to this, or
Well, nothing's really aside from the attempts,
has really nothing changed?
nothing's
I don't know.
changed. No,
I had the feeling. I had the feeling that the market might go risk off, but I'm not seeing too much evidence of that at the moment.
Well, do you know what? Actually, interesting you say that, because when I looked at the FTSE this morning, the FTSE's well and truly floating its way to the downside, and then
Okay.
this probably is a kind of a decent gauge of risk off, except for then when you bring in the Nasdaq, which would be sort of like the probably expression of risk on or off. In the United States, this one's pretty stable. So FTSE's down this morning, and I quite like. But when you look at Brent crude, this is also coming down. So it looks like a slightly different reason for the FTSE coming off. I suspect the FTSE's weakness is probably more down to the pound's strength. And when you look at the pound, it has been on a bit of a tear, over recent days. The 4-hour chart, and it's been, it's been on a pretty good run. You look at it against the Kiwi, and it's just relentless. So there is a little bit of risk off, and also if we sort of think about the yen as a risk off currency, this is the dollar yen coming down. Swiss yen probably less of an indication, but certainly the Kiwi yen as well coming down. So there is a bit of risk coming out of the market this morning. And I'm
not sure that we can use the yen because of the intervention last week. Is that a follow through of that, or is it a reaction to being the market going risk off?
I think you're right, mate.
As I really don't know. I've got no idea, and I really want to see what today brings.
Yeah, well, the intervention is probably the reason behind it. I'm looking at this dollar Swissy as a potential way to express it. I can see a pretty good level here. I didn't even realize it was that good. But when I looked at it on a 4-hour chart, there's resistance, there's support, another support area here, and we're just floating around this particular zone. Doesn't look quite as clear on the daily, but I do think that there is a horizontal level where we sit, or close to where we sit. And I was talking about the trend line earlier. This is the opening bar this is the opening hour, gap down and comes up, and these are the trickiest bars to kind of involve in the trend lines, in my opinion. And more often than not, I tend to circumnavigate them and just use where the previous kind of touches were. There is a level there, and there's also they're the closing levels, and there's also these these tails as well. So that's probably giving us the idea that it probably will be a bounce point here, but bouncing to where, and I wonder whether it is here. If that becomes a lower high on the hourly, I'm quite interested in that, but I'd need to wait another 45 minutes before I got a clearer understanding of what was going on with this stuff. So I think it could be a little bit of a difficult Monday, if I'm honest, mate. When I looked around, I thought,
Agreed.
the FTSE's kind of gone a bit early without a genuine signal. It was gold's down as well. Let's have a look at gold. Yeah, you see, gold to me is another potential buying opportunity, but well, it's probably not too bad here, is it? When you look at it.
G'day, Lewis. I finally got a chat box up. How are you, mate?
Gold looks all right. Gold looks actually pretty good as a potential buying opportunity. I don't know if the guys are trading the wave riders and you know, because I looked at some of the wave riders because I thought, you know, I'll start sort of bringing it in with with
Yep.
you know, with our show. I don't know whether I should be showing the indicators. I don't suppose it really matters, but I'm just going to bring it in on this. Let me bring it over here. Yeah, it's difficult because I know the guys in the room know the indicators, but I don't know if everybody else on YouTube whether we should be showing them or not. I suppose without the
Well, you don't
this.
really have to show them, I suppose. You could just cite the directional bias and the levels, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well, there was I think 4 this morning. The Aussie Swissy was long. So if we just have a quick look at some of these Aussie Swiss, 4
Well,
or 5 this morning.
that's complete account risk off. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. The problem. I mean, if we think about these particular situations, you know, this wave rider here, that's very close to a significant high here, and you can tell it's significant because the reaction after it. So even if this did get a setup, this doesn't look like a very wise trade to me. You know, trading that one back to the upside. I'm pretty sure that was one. I think the Euro Aussie was also a position. I think this one might have been a short. And this is the difficult thing. I think with the Aussie, when you see things that are basically Aussie positive, they become trickier because of where they kind of sit. It's probably got a little bit of room, but we're getting pretty close to you know a potential sort of bounce point down here. But that one's probably got enough room to continue it to the downside. But there is a little bit of cluster down here. It's kind of stopped trending. It's, you know, it's hitting this range. Not that attractive a proposition either.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit bullish that pair. I can kind of eke out a double bottom and a higher low, but it's tricky because look at the rejection of the resistance there. It's just every time it hits it, it pulls back.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. Yeah, it's a tricky one actually. I don't know. Do you know what? It might just be a bit early. Maybe it's a bit early in the day to be looking for stuff because
I absolutely think so, and I think, and I know I keep harping about it, but I think Trump thing's got a lot to do with the uncertainty.
Yeah, you might be right.
I really don't know how the market. I think the market's waiting, if you like, for the reaction of the Trump supporters. And what really got to me when I saw him leave the stage under escort, I shouldn't laugh, I'm being serious. There he is, defiant as God knows only he can be. And he's going to fight.
Yeah.
What? Has he got a very short memory? Last time he did that, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And
well, I don't know. You know, he probably didn't mean what it seemed that he meant when he said that. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's sort of.
I don't know either.
Because what would you do? You know, if you're because I was thinking that if you were running for president and you are, you know, considering the sort of like character he is, and you're really sort of, you know, kind of known for your you know, the fact that you are a fighter, and someone shoots at you, and you realise you're okay. You know, I'm not surprised he kind of got up and did something. I mean, whether he sort of like, you know, because he wouldn't have been thinking completely clearly at that point. But he's done something.
Think so, but he is Donald Trump after all.
Yeah.
He can shake shit off pretty quick.
Do you know what I thought the really amazing thing was, is that he turns his head just before he's shot to look at a screen, like the moment before he's shot.
Yep. Right.
And that second that he did something, you know, almost probably unexpected is probably the thing that saved his life.
That saved him. Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
It,
he said God did, but you know,
well, I
maybe he's
mean, you
right.
know, yeah,
Maybe God made him turn his head.
maybe he's
Well,
right, but I'll tell you what, mate, it just goes to show the fragility of chance and how paper thin luck is. If you, I mean, okay, it might have been God, if you like, that he changed the direction of the bullet or whatever. But you know, if we go on the other sort of side of it and sort of think, okay, these things are there is literally a sort of a cigarette paper between disaster or tragedy and fortune.
absolutely. And we're actually
Then
a lot of us are walking that, not that we're going to get shot, but we're walking that thin line quite often. You cross the
yeah,
road, you're walking that line
yeah,
at
yeah,
the end of the
absolutely
day.
right.
So yeah,
Now,
life's very fragile.
Lewis is looking at the XTI shorts. Now, I'm just going to have a look at this one.
I've got that setting up as a breakout long. Doesn't mean it will. It's just setting up that way.
Yeah, it's just a bit. You know what my problem with this would be? Is the move so far into this area. He was looking at it, short, looked attractive. Do you mean it used to look attractive? This would have been the spot, I think, because we you know, we break down to these below this horizontal line here. Come and test it. But that was on Friday, so we're looking at today, aren't we? Today's, I mean, you know, as I say, mate, it all looks a little bit early. This price action down here doesn't look that attractive down here. Looks like there's a level along there that has obviously already been rejected once. You're looking at a long here potentially, are you?
Yeah, weekly chart with
Oh, okay.
you got a very nice trend line there, and it has bounced off it, but it didn't bounce off it convincingly, and that tends to make me think it's going to have another shot at that trend line, and perhaps a breakout is on the cards here. I like the
That's
horizontal
interesting.
level that it's just rejected.
Yeah. Um, this one here. Yeah, and
Mm.
oh, this one here.
No, pretty much
That
exactly where
one.
price is. Yep.
Yeah, you're right actually, because I mean there is a bit of a dive through here on the weekly for sure. Lewis is looking at a daily on the short side. Oh, I can see why. When you look at this particular bar here, almost an engulfing body.
Yeah, bit of a head and shoulders, bit of a double
Yeah,
top, lower
potential.
high. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I can see this too. Let me just see what this trend line suggests. This problem is all these tails that they don't make it a very clear picture. So you don't, I mean, to my mind, because of that, I'd be joining this. And I'd be saying if it breaks under the trend line, I'd be on board. But otherwise, this looks, because the thing is, if this is an invert, if this is a head and shoulders, and there's no guarantee it is. I mean, it could be an inverted head and shoulders, kind of looking at that.
Sure.
But if it was a head and shoulders, and we consider this, we've got 9 bars and currently 4 bars. So that kind of sort of suggests that if the head and shoulders is going to form, it's going to have to do a bit of this before it kind of breaks out. So we might come down, bounce, and then go, which means that sort of towards the end of the week we're probably looking at it rather than now. And I guess that's what I mean about a lot of this stuff just looks a little bit early. You know, whenever I sort of want to consider volatility as well, when I look along these numbers and look at the rate of change, there's a lot of settling. It's not like there's a lot of sort of settling down. It changes, you know, there's some changes going on, but there's not much volatility. And that also suggests that the market could just sort of waver between going there, then there, then there, then there, and there. So I'm just not convinced that we're going to have a decent trading opportunity at this stage that we can take advantage of.
Yep, no argument from me. I think the market is not even positioning itself at the moment. It's kind of waiting for a lead, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
It is waiting for something to happen. Something happened to me. I've lost everything
Oh
on
yeah.
my computer. Well, that's why I got blocked out of
Oh, I
I think it
see.
was actually Zoom froze on me because it seems to be
Okay.
working okay now, but I had to
Yeah, no,
reboot
it's
my
fine now,
computer and
mate.
I've lost everything that I normally have, which of course includes the indexes and things like that. And
Oh, fine.
I was dead set keen to proclaim um, a bullish pound, a bullish euro,
Yeah. Yeah.
mildly bullish Aussie, because I did my analysis before I heard about Trump,
Right.
and I was dead set bearish the dollar.
Yeah.
I've had to rethink that
Yeah.
because of what's happened, and I'm like the market. I'm very much a case of I'm not really that interested until I see the market move.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you, mate. I mean, if you know that the dollar, the well, you know, it's interesting actually. The dollar versus the Swissy is as close to I get to a potential trade. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind gold. Um, you know, if there's nervousness in the market, and as it comes back, because we need gold. You know, if we're going to be trading things like gold, it's got to come back. You can't trade it at these levels, but I quite like it as a potential opportunity long. Another big breakout bar, and for me,
Yep.
this is just sort of like seeing whether it comes back and tests the area and gives us some sort of buy signal. At this stage, it's just kind of hit this potential M topping pattern on the 4 hourly. So you know, a break to the downside, that's going to lead us down another 15, which kind of gets us down to this area here. So, you know, somewhere in this zone, I'll probably be looking for a long with gold. As I say, the dollar Swiss is of interest to me for short. I like the kind of, you know, where price is. It seems to be edging lower. Not a great bar, I know, on Thursday, but Friday's bar was under the level. So I think this one looks okay as well. And when we look at this on the 4 hourly, we got this double top kind of look about it, or an equal high, if you like. It's not a double top because it's not at the top, but equal high there along this horizontal line. And this is the challenge for me. Is where this trend line is. Is it there maybe, or is it actually there? I mean, it looks like it's there considering that, doesn't it?
Yes, I'd go with that.
Just a lack of clarity, mate. You know, for me, just nothing I can really do. Sorry, I've got another message here. So, Lewis, what do you think of a trendline touch? Okay, let's have a look. This is on WTI. So let's have another look at that, or XTI.
I'm trying to get all my charts back, mate. So
No worries, mate. You do your thing. 12th of the 4th. So that is April. That's this one in April. Coming down to the 7th, 12th of the 7th, which is July, which is probably there. Twelfth of the 7th. Oh, this one here. Yeah, I see that as well. From the 28th. Oh, okay. From this high. Get rid of this. All right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Lewis. I'm going to put my line there. And I'm going to allow this to extrapolate. Yeah, but that looks all right, doesn't it? That looks like a good level. So it's come up and it's tested that point pretty much. It's close enough, isn't it? There's the little horizontal test as well. Yeah, I definitely see that. Definitely see that. Let's print this up again. So we're looking really sort of from above. Let's have a look. Let me just see what's this is all today. There's the high. Yeah, there's a resistance point for sure there. This low is that's a point of interest. You know what? If there was a trade here, that would look okay, but we're looking on the daily, aren't we? Now, if we're doing that on the daily, at this stage, it doesn't look like there's a whole bunch of room. Let's see this trend line here as well. Do you think would you draw that, mate? This one along here?
No.
You wouldn't, okay. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that then.
It doesn't mean it's wrong, you know.
No, I know, mate, but do you know what? I'm a little bit, I think it's a bit tenuous. This line looks right though. I think this is the problem here, Lewis. I just wonder whether because I agree with your analysis of the trend line. That is definitely a resistance point. And what you're saying, Jeff, is another attempt to grab the trend line. And where that would be quite interesting is that this high didn't touch it. But if it comes back up and equals that high in a day or so, it will touch it. We're looking at Wednesday or Thursday, it will touch it. I don't know whether that's significant or not, but this level that you've drawn, the trend line that you've drawn, to me looks really good.
Yep.
And it means that this looks right. This horizontal line looks right to me as well. And it feels like we're in a range. So if you're going to take this trade with the stops at the high of the bar, there's not enough room to get a one-to-one. That would be my problem with it, Lewis, personally. You know, if you're not after that, then fine. But where I wouldn't be that keen on anything less than one-to-one. Cool. Okay, so Lewis's last high touches the trend line, which on his Fusion account, which is interesting because obviously different brokers have different levels, so that's fine then. But I guess it's my issue with it still holds that if you trade, you know, if you've got this same level here on your Fusion account, the horizontal level, my issue with it is that this as a probably 75.75 to 1 is not enough reward to risk considering over the risk, sorry, considering the range that we're probably in here, because it looks like we'll tag this line and it's got a good chance of bouncing when you sort of look at what the level is. So that would be my issue with it. Not to say that your signal isn't right, but I just don't know how far it goes. Well, I mean, nobody does, but my suspicion would be that this is how far it goes. That's probably a better way to put it, and that's just not enough. That's the problem. Oh yeah, with it, yeah. Yeah, so that would be my issue, Lewis, personally. The short, no problems. You know, this is the thing, isn't it, mate? This is the whole thing about where you put the weight on a trade and whether you're a 50-50, whether you put the weight on the setup 50% and the reward 50%, or whether you put the weight on the reward, or whether you put the weight on the setup. The setup looks okay. The reward doesn't look so attractive. But if you're not worried about that, and you're more like I'm more about the setup and let the trade run and see if I can get stops trailing behind it, and if it goes through, great. Then I get the idea behind the trade completely. But if you
Yes,
are,
it depends on your MO, doesn't it? And what you're comfortable with. And
yeah,
in my case, if I were to trade that short, and I see exactly why you would want to do that at this point, my thing would be taking profit just before that resistance line, which is now potentially support. That would be my
yeah,
MO, and that gets me safe then,
yeah,
because I can take the risk off the table. And
yeah.
if it is a follow through, then I can add to the position once it breaks that level and comes back and retests it. So that's my MO.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's right for everybody, that's for sure, but that's the way I would approach it. If I'm convinced that this is a setup to go short, then that's exactly how I would do it.
The only other way to play it is on a shorter time frame, isn't it, mate? You know, if you sort of like thinking this is the level and it's in and around this area, you think that's the low of the of Friday's bar. There's a horizontal level along here. So if you sort of the only other way that I would be interested, I mean, this is horrible, really, because it's kind of gone through the level. This is on the 4 hourly as well, so it's a bit.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing for me. The
It's,
fact that
it's a
it's
good
gone
thing.
back through that level, yeah,
Yeah.
because it
So
then
you'd be
yeah,
trading
be
the low of
prepared to
this.
sell it. Yep, yep.
Yeah, which I think would be okay because at least then you have got the risk reward. You know, if you trade under this area here, under the 4 hour bar,
Yep.
that's more like 10. I'm just going to change the pattern of this so we don't get confused. And then the stops are probably, you know, I'd use this bar personally as a stop because it's in the area.
Yep, wouldn't have a problem with that.
So a bit of deep pink. And then so you basically sort of take, actually what you're doing then is trading today's range. It's still not one
Yes,
to one. It's still not one to
bloody
one.
close, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, but it's under. It's close and under. It's close, but in the opposite, you know, the wrong way. I mean, it might be okay for you, mate, because you know the slingshot's sort of slightly different. But uh, what if it doesn't come all the way down here? You know, we've got this little area here. It's just not tidy enough for me. You know, because look, you got that high there which matches this low, and all these, and there's a lot of closing, so it might not even be this area. That might be over. That might be over.
Overanalyzing it.
No, not over analyzing. That might be asking the market to come down more than it is actually on offer.
Yep.
That'd be
Yep.
my issues. So I just don't. I
You're not
don't see the
comfortable with it,
opportunity.
and that makes it absolutely plain as day, doesn't it? If you're not
Yeah, for
comfortable,
sure.
guess what? You
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Well, this is the thing because like that is still 0.75. Do you know? I just think that this may be the market for either today or for the morning session. Um, I mean, look at these, just like dripping through. Orders are dripping through. Yeah, well, Lewis is saying back to the thesis that price always returns to the daily pivot. Then I think there might be a go.
Where is it?
Yeah, I mean that's your skill area, mate, more than mine. The daily
Well,
pivot.
speaking of that, I'll talk about euro dollar shortly on
Yeah,
that
no,
point.
go for it, mate. Go for it. I don't have anything. I've got dollar Swiss, which is doing not really what I want it to do. I've got the FTSE as well, flying to the downside, but just having this little kind of recovery. And I've got to say, the FTSE, if you look at the longer term picture here, it's kind of come up. It's come up to this point, and this is in many respects far from bearish. It's just complete indecision, you know. So because of that, if we're thinking like indecision, if there's indecision on the market and it's been going up, then the leaning for me is always up. It's always sort of going the direction of where it's come from, um, because it takes so much power really to shift a trend that and when it goes into a range, it just seems to be like people that like, yeah, it's too high, so they're selling it off, but then others are kind of coming in saying, I wanted this, way earlier on, so I'll be happy to pay for it when it comes down, no problem at all. Still going up. So when I look at this, I think, well, there might be some bearish moves in this, but we're staying within this range. And really, I'd be much more interested in picking this up at the low and trying to trade it higher, rather than trying to jump on board on a short. And even when, because of that, even in this area, if there was a decent enough price point, which there looks like there might be, I would still edge on the side of short-term move to the upside.
Yep.
Rather than, expecting it to break. And even if it does break, I'll just be looking for the next area down here, this low probably, or in and around. So so the FTSE's far from bearish. It's just one of those periods, and it's one of those sessions. But yeah, mate, but by all means, let's have a look at the euro dollar, and then if you're bullish on the euro dollar, then I might well take a dollar Swiss short.
Okay, I'm really interested in seeing what happens before I make a commitment to anything, to be honest,
Yeah.
as I keep saying. And it surprises me nil that the market is indecisive this morning, because, hey, we just had a president potentially, well, he was shot, but he survived to this point anyway, if he gets past the 19th hole. So every day I imagine in my mind what will happen with euro dollar for certainly the day, and not beyond that, never beyond that, because I'm looking at the 30-minute chart. I'm wondering how I can actually play this. And every time I see an untested daily pivot, which is the blue line here, I have an edge, because I think that the market will come back, if not to it, towards it, because it's like a magnet on a small time frame, on a short time frame, because we know that a high percentage of the time the daily pivot will be tested. Well, today that edge is non-existent because it's been absolutely hammered, and that's telling me something as well. That's telling me that the market's not too sure it wants to go away from that area. It probably will at some stage, when some traders might decide that, okay, doesn't really matter that the president got shot. The US dollar is in trouble. And for that reason, the euro dollar should rally. And I'm on board with that. If I could erase, and I'm sure that a lot of people would be thinking the same thing, if I could erase that bullet coming out of that rifle going towards Donald Trump, then I would have no hesitation today in saying that this is a buy. But that's what the market thought of Donald Trump. I think the market's gapped down, and slight, and only slight, bullishness in the US dollar. Now, we fundamentally, and from data releases last week, the US dollar should be in deep SH1T. And that is very evident in that it's broken now. This is the dollar index. It's now broken this trend line, which has been happening since, well, it began in March, went through June, and these trend lines are being absolutely spot on. They're giving us very good indication as to what happens next. And now that this one's broken and we've had follow through from that, I've really got a target here for the US dollar. It's down 101.27, because I've got a confluence of horizontal level resistance trend line. And I know you can't see this very clearly on this daily chart, but they're coming from good spaces, these trend lines. So this is a major target for me on US dollar. And I think if the market doesn't go risk off, then this is where the dollar's headed. Of course, if the market does go risk off, then we're probably back in here. So, as I said, when I did my analysis, Trump hadn't been shot. And this to me was just an automatic keep selling it or buying something against it. When I saw, and this Aussie chart's got me completely and absolutely, I look at it every day and I go, well, how did that happen? How did that happen? How did that happen? Why did that happen? And we've been saying it for weeks. It's very rare to see a chart like that, in my opinion. This is a daily chart I'm looking at, and every day it sells off but comes back. Well, not every day, sorry, but at least once a week. That's what we're seeing happening. And I assume that's based on news. I haven't really dug too deep into it. But I'm a little bit concerned now that this will keep doing that. But now it's clear of this level. And again, before Trump, I'm thinking, okay, just keep buying this against the dollar. That would work for me. But now I'm just a little bit, yes, it's clear of resistance, but there's still that tendency for it to sell off. Interestingly, today, and this is today's bar, I think. Oh no, that's Friday's bar. Sorry. This is the Canadian dollar, which has come back and retested that trend line pretty much to perfection and rejected it. Problem is, we've had a rejection of the higher level as well at this horizontal level. So I'm uncertain about the Canadian dollar. This is the pound. And as we've noted, the pound has been pretty much on fire and probably the strongest outside the yen from last week. Sorry. This is probably the strongest sustainable at the moment, and it's gone through just about every level except this one up here, which, sorry, my charts have been completely dismantled by that disconnection I had earlier. But you can see this is through just about every point of resistance until up here. So more upside on the pound, I can see.
Yeah.
This one's got me completely flamboozled. I've got no idea what happens next with the Swissy.
Yeah.
It's very much a case of, if it was up here, I'd be bullish. If it was down here, I'd be bearish. But it's absolutely bang smack on that that trend line, and it's tried, and just kind of won't get where it wants. Well, where I think it wants to go. If it gets back into here, then I've got a clear direction. But right now, no, got nothing. This is
What
the
would
Kiwi.
you, if it did get back in there, would you be long?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did that and then sold off quickly.
Yeah.
What? Only a week or so ago. So I'd need to see something a little bit more solid than that. So maybe a back in higher low scenario would work. This one here is the Kiwi, of course, and it's kind of in no man's land and has been since it broke out here, hit the resistance level, but it hasn't really come back to that level. So it's kind of floating in nowhere. I'm not sure what's happening with that. The yen, we all know about the yen. It looks like it is following through today, which is interesting. I would need to see it get above these trend lines and come back and retest them before I got interested. But speculators, if you're willing to speculate, then this has got a long, long way to go.
Oh, mate, I mean, the COT data is so bullish on the yen.
Is it really?
But I tell you the time for the yen. There's a really, really strong seasonal pattern that happens with the yen, and it tends to sort of happen against the Aussie and the Kiwi historically around about the third week in July. And against everything else, it kind of kicks in August. So we are weeks away.
Did you say Aussie and the Kiwi?
The Aussie and the Kiwi tend to move first against the yen, yeah. So those two tend to weaken before anything else. And then everything else, it tends to weaken. But, when you get to sort of late July, Aussie Kiwi tend to be weak against the yen, but then everything else just follows it in August. So the yen just tends to absolutely fly in August. And when you kind of look at this stuff and that channel's really cool, actually. And there's even a possibility that the channel's slightly higher.
I'm on the daily chart. That's why it looks a bit skewish. Let me bring it back. That kind of gives you a better idea, I think.
Yeah, it does. It does, actually. Can you? Is the channel is the channel that bottom line, the lower line?
Yeah.
Can you raise it to where the thing starts, to raise it to the next bar along. No, sorry, down to the wick of the next bar along. One a
Week
little
of
bit
the
lower. There.
this one.
That one there, yeah, but the wick, yeah, there. I mean, it's difficult because there was enough breakouts probably to negate that, but there's a few touches along there as well, and we might be there. You know, I mean, this is on a weekly chart. If this week ends with the bar the way it currently is, that is a really strong morning star taking out at least 2 bars. You know, maybe even more. So yeah, I mean the yen's there's a possibility that we are bottoming out with the yen. The problem is, you know, we've seen this before, like we did in looks like
Here,
around
here,
there exactly
here,
yeah
here.
yeah yeah. So we have seen it before. So it's got form, but as I say, mate, August tends to be the month for the yen, and it tends to sort of start against the risk on currencies at the end of July. So we're weeks away from a historical seasonal long, and last week, and this is always going to be the case, it's not going to take a lot to move the yen wildly. Now, whether it sticks is another question, but it's not going to take a lot because it's been so badly battered, and you know, and then therefore it doesn't take a lot for somebody to kind of whisper something, and it for all of a sudden everybody gets just really panicked and nervous. But the COT data is very, very bullish on the yen. You know, we're at a point where speculators are at crazy buying highs, tipping the boat in one direction. And commercials are, sorry, so they've been buying and buying and buying, and then they're still really long, the speculators, but they're all really sort of heavy on that side of the boat. But the commercials are just stacking in there, you know, as it keeps coming down, they're really sort of buying and buying and buying. They see the
Okay.
risk to the upside, and
Yeah,
you know,
I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to find a reason to think that the yen has to stop
yes,
falling.
yes, yeah,
But
exactly that.
actually getting that timing right is another story altogether.
Yeah, yeah, it's a challenge, no question.
Anyway, here's why I like the euro, and of course it's the upside down version of the dollar. But this area here looks to be a target area for me. So 110-ish, or sorry, nearly 111-ish. I don't need to see too much more before I'm a euro bull, to be honest. And that's not easy to say, but that's where it is. So, as I said, going into the week, had there, and I did my analysis on Sunday morning before I heard of Trump. I'm a bull the euro, I'm a bull the pound, and I'm an absolute bear the dollar. But that's now thrown me into complete and utter, well, not so much confusion because I'm
Yeah,
clear headed about it, but
yeah,
am I willing to take the risk that we aren't going risk off? And if we do, then this doesn't mean jack. So
no,
let me convert that back to here. And I see a weekly pivot untested down here, and it's Monday, so I guess that's not unusual. I see a gap up here, which is, well, to that extent, that is unusual on euro versus the dollar, to be fair. But the play I would like to see is that gap close and a lower high form up here. Then I could trade that back down here and maybe look at this as a target. If that doesn't transpire, I think the weak or slightly more risky trade would be take out the low of the day here with price, come back and retest this confluence area of daily pivot and trend line, and then trade it back to the weekly pivot. But I think that's all I've got in terms of a potential trade on a small time frame going into, well, now we're well into UK session. My interest level is honestly waned dramatically.
yeah,
I do,
yeah, me too, mate.
I do have that order though that I'll share with you on oil, and this is just a slingshot setup trade. Really, it's not necessarily what I think will happen, which is pretty much my MO on the slingshot. It's not about what I think will happen; it's what I think won't happen or sorry, what happens if what we think might happen doesn't. So if X doesn't happen, Y generally will. That's kind of where I'm at. So we've already discussed the potential bounce off this trend line. And in, I guess, a perfect world of technical trading, you'd be looking for this to go straight back down to that bottom trend line. And I'm in full agreement with that. Don't have a problem with it. But if it doesn't happen, then the breakout to the upside is on the cards. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. It's not a matter of, okay, I'm predicting that oil's going to break out and go to $95 or whatever. It's, okay, if this doesn't occur, then we're going to have another look at this trend line and probably break it and have a look at these highs. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
With oil, it's not a prediction. It's okay, if this doesn't happen, then probably this will.
Yeah. I think you're right. And you know what? I look at days like this and I think, okay, you know, as professional traders, you know, as people that want to sit down and make money in the market, if the market's not right, you don't trade. You go home. You know, it's if you were a stall holder and you sort of set up all your clothes out, you were sort of like, you know, selling some lovely items and you're setting everything out and you get into the market and it is unusually quiet. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there all day, or are you going to sort of like go, you know what, today's just not my day. Let's come back tomorrow, see if it's busy, and then if
Don't
it's
have a problem
busy,
with that.
yeah, we'll sell some stuff. So this is where I look at it and I just think, it's just not a market I like. You know, there's some things that I'm sort of okay on, but sort of okay. I just don't see the point in it sometimes. You know, I think if you're in a sort of like a place where the market is hot, you know, and it's just you know, sort of like the odd day is, you know, the odd day will just not be right. You'll probably trade through it, but I just don't think the market is as hot as it has been, and I think sort of cherry picking now is going to be a bit more important.
We're also in a European summer,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we don't have as many traders sitting at desks looking at moving the market. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, good
That
point.
needs to be considered, and I agree. Maybe little scalping maneuvers are probably okay,
Yeah,
but until I see something clear, I agree. I'm really no interest in putting money in the market. I've got a
yeah,
few that I've looked at this morning, and Euro Aussie was one of them. You spoke about that earlier,
yeah,
and here's the reason I like Euro Aussie, not to the downside but to the upside, because we do have a bit of a base forming here. The only thing that's not clear to me at the moment is, have I got a higher low in place, and is this an equal low? Is it a higher low? So I probably want to see a bit more price action, but I do see this level up here as well as a potential target. Of course, if that is similar to what I've just said on oil, if that's not going to happen, then these lows are probably under threat as well. So don't have an issue with that. I also want to have a look at Kiwi versus the CAD. Now, the Kiwi, and you might be able to fill me in on this, why is the Kiwi gone off so much? Is it just
it was.
because the RBNZ have cooled their heels and stopped talking about potential rate rises?
Yeah, do you know, mate? It was ever since that rate hold, we just seem to sort of see the Kiwi come off, and yeah, I mean, maybe there's a whisper that, but this is it. But you know, it's a funny one really, because you sort of you look at things in isolation, and the New Zealand dollar is a really good case in point. Is that everything that moves the Kiwi is probably outside of New Zealand. You know, sorry, the majority of things that
Yeah,
move the
true.
Kiwi are probably outside of New Zealand. So I think the RBNZ has sort of like, you know, had an effect on the currency, but it's data elsewhere really that kind of makes a difference to the likes of the Kiwi. And you see the Kiwi got absolutely smashed against the yen, probably more than everything else. And you know, if we do sort of trust the seasonal aspect of it, then Kiwi yen short is well and truly on and something to look for. Um, but maybe just timing is going to be pivotal, as it always is if you get to try and trade the yen in the you know, long direction,
Yeah,
taking
well,
other things short against it. So
we're certainly on board with that. Couple of things here with Kiwi CAD, and CAD news this week too. is there not? I think CPI figures maybe.
There might well
If I'm
be.
not wrong.
But
So
we'll double check.
this trend line's holding this up at the moment, and I'm not sure I need to trust that or not. If I did trust that trend line, then this is probably a buying bar that we saw last week. But you see the market did gap down this morning, suggesting that this may have another crack at this trend line. And if it breaks it and retests it, then I think Kiwi CAD becomes a sell. And if that happens on a daily chart, we'll probably have a shot at that this week. It may be the case, and you can see it's bounced off the monthly pivot. It may be the case that it sets up before then, but I don't have a clear picture of that. But it's pretty clear to me what has to happen. It has to either take off from here, and if I get a signal for that, I'll look to trade it long. But if I get a signal for the other way, which will be a clear break underneath that trend line, then I'm more than happy to trade it short also.
Tell
There
you
is a
what,
definite, yeah, mate.
you know, you mentioned in the CPI data. I'm just having a look at this week's data. I should have done it yesterday. Massive week, and this explains our
There's a lot
Monday.
going on.
Yeah, in a lot more detail. So we got inflation data in the form of CPI from Canada, from the United Kingdom, from Europe. We've got an interest rate decision from Europe as well. Along with sort of things like unemployment data and this sort of thing, and some jobless claims or whatever. But it is a big week. Oh, and some inflation data in the form of CPI from Japan as well. So yeah, it's huge, really, mate. It's one of those, isn't it, that you sort of like, you look at this and think, okay, is this going to be the best session to trade in? There will be money to be made, of course, but it's just whether the opportunities are, you know, the right ones, clear, simple to take, or whether we are kind of, you know, almost fitting you know, things into our strategy just because they kind of fit a little bit. So yeah, I think pack up and go to the movies might be a good idea, Lewis.
Yep. There's no such thing as half pregnant, right? So
Yeah,
I'm in full agreement. You're either got the setup,
yeah,
in which case your life is going to change in 9 months, or you haven't got the setup and life can go on just as it was, and you can go and play golf like Donald does when he gets shot.
yeah.
I think so. You know, bottom line for me, and I think you're not too far away from agreeing with me as well. There's something that's extremely clear to me right now, and that is that nothing's clear to me.
Nah, not good enough. It's just not good enough.
Agreed, and I think that's where we will leave it.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. We got how many more weeks we got left? We got one next week.
Yeah.
Two more weeks.
2 more weeks, then we've got our mid-season break, guys, which will wipe out the entire month of August.
Yes,
so I'll be
indeed.
traveling. Guess where I'm going?
You're going to buy Kokoriki.
No, I'm going the other way. I'm going to the US. My God,
Oh.
I've never been to the US. Now I've chosen right now to go. Why would you be? My godfathers. I wonder do you think they'll give me a gun license when I get there?
Oh, undoubtedly, mate. Yeah, you'll get straight off the plane. In fact, you could probably
They're
buy
probably
it on the plane.
them out. They're probably handing them out as you get there. Here, you'll need this.
Nice. Yeah. I know. Shame that that's their law, but I don't know. Don't want to get involved in all that sort of the whys and wherefores of all that stuff, because in truth, I don't really understand it
Not for me to
enough.
say.
Yeah.
I understand. No, I don't want to go there. I'll get into trouble.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for being our trading buddies. And don't do what the BIY did. Who's the BIY? Don't do what the BIY. Oh, boy, you did. No, I won't. I promise. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We will catch you next Monday. Ash, I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Good stuff, mate. See you then.
See you guys. Bye-bye for now.